We are now recording. Okay, so talking about Ally. Ally is a program that has been loaded into Blackboard. We are basically using it on a pilot basis, which means, yeah, it'll probably disappear in December because I don't think we have the funds to pay for it after that. There's a lot of budget discussions right now, so we probably won't be able to do that. But with that said, this is a great opportunity to go in, use the tool to clean up and really learn how we should create content correctly so we can reach all the students in our classroom. So far, you know, a lot of content that's being put in is we have a lot of shortcuts, a lot of convenient ways that we're doing it, but it's not necessarily right in terms of the Americans with Disabilities Act and how we need to create content there. So this is where Ally comes in. So a couple of you indicated that you have put Ally in there in your course. So that is great. And let me just show everybody else how to do it. I just don't want to miss anything. Okay. So in order to get Ally in your course, I am sharing my screen. What you need to do, there's two ways that you can do it. One is to add a tool. So let me, so you go to your Blackboard course, up in the upper left-hand corner, you have this plus sign for adding something to your menu. So if you select that plus sign or mouse over it, you will have the tool link. So when you click on the tool link, the very first option that pops up is accessibility report. And so that's what you want. Give it a title that is going to be meaningful for you. And you do not want to make it available to other users. The students in your class will not be able to see it. And so therefore it would be pretty much it'd be an energy suck on your part because they would be asking you, hey, I can't access this report. They basically, get a permissions error. So do not make it available, but you can access it. So when I submit that, I have a menu item that shows up at the bottom of my menu. Like all other items, I can move it up and down to be able to see that. So that is one way. Another way is to, for example, if I go into my content and say I have week 1 material, what I can do is I can add a tool in there. So I'm going to go to Tools, More Tools, and I can click on Accessibility Report. It's going to ask for a name, maybe a description. Once again, do not make it available. So I'm going to uncheck the availability and submit. And so now I have the accessibility report. Okay. So if you were following along, feel free to add that report. It takes just a couple seconds to do that. All right. With that, let's actually go look at the report and kind of walk through the various content on that report. So I'm going to go select my report, and it will generate a report for that course. Now, if it has not already generated content or for the report, I think everyone should be able to get a report at this time where it reports out your content. But if not, if you wait, maybe check on it in an hour, it will go through all the content in your course. Even if you are not sharing that content with your students, if it's not available, it doesn't matter. If it's part of your course, it's going to let you know if it's accessible or not. And the logic behind that is if you have something in your course, you're not showing it to your students, you may show it in the future. So it's just going to let you know whether it's accessible or not. So the first thing is in the upper left-hand corner is you have a score. In this case, my score is 90%. So an accessibility score, just to kind of give you an idea of what it is, or how it what the scores are. If it's red, you're pretty much in 0 to 33%. There are a lot of issues that need to be resolved. Orange, you're definitely improving, okay, but still needs more improvement. Then you have high. Anything from 67 to 99 will be a light green. And then finally, a perfect score for that item or for all your content is 100%. That it did not identify any problems, but there may be some things that it did not catch. All right, so that doesn't mean you're clear, but you're in a good shape. So when why this is important? I'm going to use myself as an example, right? I am honestly just getting a little older, and the wheels are starting to fall off. I can't see, I can't hear. There is a lot of factors. I'm just falling apart. And I will probably not go to our disability services to ask for an accommodation. Okay? Because this is something that's sneaking up on me. But I do know that there's things that help me. So, for example, videos, if they do not have a good closed caption, that could affect not only people who cannot hear, but if you're doing foreign languages, for example, people with, our international students could benefit from seeing what's written as well as what they're hearing. So it's just a lot of benefits. And this comes from this idea of universal design, that we have benefited from curb cuts, right, which was initially designed back in the 40s, 50s for our vets coming out of World War II in order to move around with wheelchairs. But now they've helped moms with baby carriages. They've helped, folks going grocery shopping with their carts. All right, those curb cuts have helped a lot of folks. Those automatic doors, right? I thought it was just for me. I'd walk up and the doors magically open. But that's a design for folks that have a handicap or something like that. But I benefit from it. So when I've got my hands full and I'm walking up and the door is open, bonus to me, right? So the same logic applies to what we're doing in the classroom. So what you're trying to do, let me go back to sharing here, is you are trying to get the best score possible, right? And I'll show you where we're at as far as an institution. But, if you're getting into the 90, 80, high 80s, 90s, you're doing pretty good. There may be some small things that you need to fix, but you're on track. So the next piece, and this screen is divided into really two tabs, overview and content. And I'll get to the content here in a few minutes, but overview. So it's going to show you what, all the different items that you have. and you can view this and it'll show you all the items, and that's basically in the content. But this is a distribution of your items. I'm not exactly sure how valuable that is, but it kind of shows the distribution. The next section is identifying where to start. Where do I start figuring out what to fix in terms of my course? Well, you can start with the easy things, right? And if you click on that, it'll present a list of things that are easy to fix. Or you can start with the things that have the biggest problems. And sometimes that can be a little bit more challenging. But everything that you fix will continuously improve your score. And some of these things we probably just didn't think of when we were creating the document. But once we finished the document, once we've made the improvements to the document, that's going to carry over from course to course, right? So there's a lot of upfront lift, but once you've improved that document, you roll over your course, now you have a course that has better content, right? So that's what we're trying to do. At the bottom of this is remaining issues, and these are broken down into the different types of images or different types of problems that the document may have. And it'll indicate the severity of that particular document. It could be, let me see if I have something dealing with severities. Right, so it could be a kind of a red circle, which is very severe and needs most attention, or orange triangle, or kind of a greenish flag. And those will, like I said, you're just trying to improve each of these items. All right, questions on that so far? Anybody? And feel free to unmute if you want to.
Yeah, Stan, this is Jeff Davis.
Hi, Jeff.
How you doing today, Stan?
Well, so far okay, except when I screwed up my link.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey, this is pretty good. I didn't realize that we had this kind of overview of the whole course. I've just been fixing things that had the, this is a little better. So I just looked at one or two of mine, and that's really old content, but it isn't really telling me where it is. Is there a way to just, like, I don't really want the content. Is there an easy way to kind of figure out where this content is and just delete it?
As far as identifying the location of where the heck that thing is, I am not sure, but maybe we'll have an opportunity where you can share your screen, point out one thing, and maybe we can figure it out on the fly.
Okay.
So
it looks like it's in the course information documents, but it may have been content that was created kind of when before I inherited the course and stuff. So
okay, yeah, it could be. If not, I'd be happy to hunt it out for you. Right, sometimes on the administrator side, I have a few more tools at my disposal that that you guys don't necessarily have. So, shoot me an email with the course and the number, and maybe we can get on a call and we can hunt it out too. So
okay,
happy to do that.
And I can look. I was just wondering if there was an easy way to maybe, because on the right, it tells me what the issue is, and I'm not shocked that it doesn't have a description. It's just an image, but it's like an image from, it says spring 2017, so I'm not really interested in keeping it any longer. So
yeah, and somebody may have named it that way,
mm-hmm.
As the name of an image, but it may be being used in 2020, and it's all fine. So
well, it's not, because there's dates in here and stuff like that, so it's, they have a starting date of January 19th, and all of that stuff is pretty much gone, in terms of for this semester. I mean, it's not even offered in the spring. This course isn't yet. It's giving me this error. So okay.
So let's see, what do we have? John Keating was Ally automatically installed? Yes, it was installed probably in the spring. And I sent some notes out about it, but that doesn't mean, you know, a lot of traffic, so things get missed. I understand. So, so 2 issues with scores, contrast with lettering on a PowerPoint, and no PDF title. All right, so we're going to start looking at, different ways to address some of these. Some of these are a lot easier to address. Some of them are really hard. So let's just go through a couple of them, and this may point in the right direction. Over the next couple sessions, I'm really gonna go into Blackboard and show you how to, like in Blackboard, create your content to make sure it's accessible, and we're gonna look at, creating Word documents that are accessible, and I think talk about PowerPoint or something like that. So we'll definitely try to address those. But let me show you a little bit on how to use Ally and how to deal with these problems. So right now I have 3 different ways that I can go in and start working on my content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the easiest ones to fix first, and I'm going to start there. So the first one is the slides PNG file, right? So it's an image, and so I have an image in there that is not something. If I click on the item, what it's going to do is it's going to bring me this instructor view. And, it lets me know that this particular item is missing a description. So according to the American Disabilities Act, if you're using an image for the sake of learning, you need to also include a description. Now, sometimes it's just decorative, and if that's the case, then I would go ahead and click on the thing, indicate images decorative, if it's just fluff. Ideally, you shouldn't have fluff in your course, but sometimes we do, right? So you can indicate it's fluff. But if you have something that is, in terms of learning, somebody who is visually impaired in your course comes across an image and they can't see, you are denying them information about, that could be relevant to their learning, right? And so that's where the problem is. So in this case, I have an image that I've included. And what I could do right here in this point, I could type in, you don't have to say image because that's what the image is, but somebody could not read what the text is. And so you're an educator who wants to create an environment where all students succeed, right? Because that's what the image says. And I can also hats being thrown in the air. So that is a description for that image. And so if somebody who is using a screen reader is going through and they come to that image, that is what's going to be told to them. Make sure I get my spelling right or it would blow it up. And all I have to do is now click add, and my score goes up to 100% on that, and I'm done with that particular issue. Pretty much that easy. So a lot of these are images, and I can go in, here is a banner, right? So universal design and accessibility for online courses, and it's a banner. Add, boom, done. And I clean that one up. and I can go through the other ones. Now, this Word document, this is a little different because the Word document, you know, I uploaded this document, and what I need to do is figure out where the problems are. So this document contains images that are missing a description. And right next to the score, I can click on that and it will tell me a lot of other things that needs to be fixed. So headings in this document do not begin with level 1. Headings in this document do not follow a logical structure. This document has more than 6 heading levels. So the folks that were creating this particular document, they knew to use headings. And so that's a good thing, but they didn't use headings correctly. So that needs to be fixed. So I would actually have to go to the original documents, make the updates to the headings, go in and add alternative descriptions for the images, and then reload that particular document back into Blackboard and replace this one. So that's how I would go ahead and fix that. Some items, you know, they have some that say guidance here, but you have some that say fix. And it's a matter of locating those particular images. Let's see if we can find them. And this is, I mean, just looking at this document, the way things are spread out, this was not a well-formed document. So we are definitely going to talk about this probably in 2 weeks on how to improve this, you know, a document like this. But probably this particular image does not have the right markings on it. Let me see if there's anything else. Some documents are better when they tell you, you know, where the issues are. This one doesn't seem to have, it's identifying them as well as I want. And then also a PowerPoint presentation. So this particular presentation, this one's really nice because it took me to 2 images that do not have a description. So once again, with PowerPoint, I would have to go to that particular document and go to those images, and you would normally right-click on them, and there's an option for alternative description, and you would write the description. In this case, you know, step one, I'm putting the glove. You know, step 2, or you know, or picture shows or image shows putting on glove, image shows how to remove glove. So, I mean, that's what the images are. And so you would go ahead and fix those. This, so that's one way. The other way is to fix the low scoring content. So this becomes a little trickier because if you have PDF documents, if you do not have a way to edit PDF documents, that becomes more problematic. There is a way to go ahead and build your own documents from this, but something like this is a chapter from a book, and this is more problematic. But I'll show you ways of accommodating for that, and I think this program's done a nice thing. But this will tell you where all the issues are. So one, the PDF is untagged. Until I started using Ally, I was not aware of what untagged means. And untagged is, you know, when it's saved, if you save a document from, say, Microsoft Word, it brings all this tagging into it, and it means it's, you know, basically done correctly. Some documents, PDFs, depending on the programs, may have been created before tagging was, an issue. And so therefore they're reporting as being untagged. I don't honestly have a good way to fix that other than starting with the original document before we inserted it. And the same thing, with a language set, that is something that when you, in your word processor, you can indicate the language set. Normally it's set to English. If you use another language, you can set that language intentionally. And then it goes in and talks about insufficient contrast. So we can click on that. And so in this particular document, it is making the observation that those titles, they're in blue, do not have enough contrast. And this could be an issue for somebody who has a visual impairment, that they're not able to distinguish between those as well as they should. So black on white, that's probably your best bet in most things, okay? But sometimes you want to bring emphasis to things, and I understand that. So, but it's basically saying the contrast here is too low, and so it's flagging it. And let's see. So, I can go to specific things. Images does not have a description, so I can just fix those and just deal with that particular issue. I have HTML content that does has low contrast, so adding closed captions to YouTube videos. Yeah, so it's looking at this and telling me that the contrast is not high enough. And so really, basically, I would go in and edit that particular section and adjust those contrasting issues. And this was the reason that we have issues here is because this was pretty much cut and paste from like a Word document or something, and you can tell because the font is all kind of squirrely here. And so that's why that has issues. So I can go in and work on fixing that. So one way is to highlight that, and I can remove formatting. And so now that cleans that up. I may want to emphasize this. They had some things called bold, that word bold or whatever, and download button. And so now that should fix that particular issue dealing with contrast. Okay, so would you recommend keeping documents in Word than making a PDF for a higher and quicker score? One, you have to make sure that you get the document correct in the Word document. You bring up another issue that some folks are consuming this information on a phone, and it's more likely that they'll be able to read a PDF document than maybe a Word document on their phone. So it's not a straightforward answer. I'm more of a fan of Google Docs, for sharing these, because folks can access it from their phones, from their iPads, and it's a lot easier to make changes, but that is me. So
just a comment, Stan, this is Jeff.
Go ahead,
so what I found is if I run a Word document through the accessibility checker that Microsoft provides,
okay,
and it gives me a score of 100%. If I bring it into, let's say I then create a PDF and I bring it into Blackboard, there still is stuff that Blackboard's catching that isn't an issue in Word. So for instance, one of them that I found is that is that whole titles things, like you have titles that aren't tagged as titles or whatever, where I might, like this, it'll just say this document doesn't have a title. So I'll have to go back to the Word document and write the beginning where I have like some kind of a title to the document, but I haven't specifically said in Word, this is a title 1, okay? Word doesn't seem to care in terms of accessibility, but Blackboard does, which is kind of weird. But I just wanted to mention that.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's these little nuances, you know, to do this. You know, at the end of the day, you know, having a title, using headings, using lists, using alt tags for your images, all this will yield a document that is certainly more accessible than ways where people just highlight stuff, you know, make it bigger, bold, you know, and call it a heading. So the idea is more alignment, but you know, you're absolutely right. I've had stuff that this didn't catch, but I run it through, say, JAWS, and that, you know, or some other accessibility things, and they identify things. So, you know, that end of the day is trying to get closer to right than possible, but it's yeah. I mean, if your content is scoring definitely, you know, below that 67, 70%, I would strongly encourage going in and fixing it. And, you know, if students say that they can't get to the content, they're having issues with it, you know, that's certainly content to fix. You know, you definitely just don't want to deny somebody a learning opportunity because they can't see the content. So, yes,
yeah,
Jeff.
yeah. When I've made these documents, because I'm redoing all my documents to make them accessible, and you know, in the past we've made them look nice and pretty and different colors and stuff, and frankly, they just have to be boring documents.
There's a little truth to that. Yeah.
No, there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, some of the formatting things that we do, like using tables to control.
Oh yeah, you can't use tables. Tables are like a huge no-no. Yeah.
Throw tables out. Yeah.
Yeah. Tables are gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to take up all the time here, but I just thought I'd mention that because
I appreciate it.
I don't know if anybody else has been trying to switch their documents over or not, like I've been doing. But as you run them through like the Word accessibility checker, and if you have a table, you're going to get like a 0 for a score. So you might as well just get rid of all the tables. That's what I've had to do. So, you know, everything is now just straight text. I'll bold stuff, but do nothing else. No color, nothing. They're just really boring.
Yeah, just, you know, headers and stuff like that. That's, you know, those are key things. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
So that basically is, you know, how this report works, and you can work through and start cleaning things up. You can also go to content. And so content gives you a list of all the content and where it sits in terms of your score. You can sort it by score. So the things that are scoring as 100, even though it's got one issue here, this is kind of strange. Downtown Abbey, cool. You know, I have items that are 100%. I'm probably not spending some time on that. But I've got items that are saying 6% compatibility or, you know, that are accessible. So that's probably where I'm going to start there. If I look at it and it says a Word doc and I've got 4 issues with it, I can try to get the documents fixed all at one time. So I can click on this, have my Word document open, look at what all the issues are, and go through and fix all the issues at one time, and then upload the document, and that will serve my purpose there. You know, and it's a matter of just going through and looking at, you know, the various documents. So you have an overview where you can look at easy to fix, low scoring stuff, remaining issues, but then also, you know, you may want to look at one document at a time and work to fix those particular documents. like I said, for PDF, you may have to start with going back to your original document and making the changes, and then convert it back to a PDF, and then uploading it. So very cool. All right. All right. So let me. That's the Ally report. If you've got questions, feel free to throw them up there. So let me take you back to my Blackboard. So with Blackboard, if you did not load the report, what you are going to see is next to content that you have uploaded, you may see those little markers that are telling you what the score is. So I have a PDF file that is horrible. And if I click on that particular document, it's going to bring up that instructor view, and I can go in and see what the issues are and work to try to fix that particular document. Okay. And so in here, I loaded a Word document. And, that tells me issues with that particular document. A PowerPoint file. And it didn't bring that up like I wanted it to. There we go. And so, yeah, and that's where those images don't have alternative text. Go back here. Ding. And then also my lesson content. So it was HTML, and it just loved it. So for both you and your students, if you mouse over this item, and let me bring up the student view real quick, and go to content and my week 1 material. So the students will see something that has this Ally A next to it. It's accessible formats. So for example, this PDF document, if I click on that, it will bring up other formats that may be useful to that particular student. So I could look at that as an HTML, in my browser. Let me see if I can get that. That's maybe a big document, so that was probably a mistake. Well, while that's running in the background, some of these the file types that Ally checks: PDF files, Word documents, PowerPoints, Open Office documents, HTML, images. It will also look at what you see, what you get type documents. And that's really things that you're creating actually in Blackboard. And it will look at YouTube. And when it looks at YouTube, if you did not go in and say upload a new closed captioning, if there was no change to the closed captioning, it will probably give you a warning. And so just it's good to know. Let me see if this is done. Oh darn, I closed it. Let me try something smaller. Let's see, that was a Word document. Lesson content. Okay, so this is you know, basically a web file that's being linked to. So what I could do is I could say do the audio file. Where's the file? Well, darn. Well, that's a little frustrating. It didn't download my file for me. And it could be, let's see what I did. I did try this out and it did work. So. Oh, download blocked. Why is that? Oh. So with that particular file.
Title, Universal Design for Online Learning.
Can you guys hear that?
Heading level 1. Universal Design for Online Learning. Universal design is an approach to the design of all products and environments to be usable by everyone to the greatest extent possible, regardless of age.
So one of the things that you could do is you know, adding multimedia paths through your content is you can actually export that as an audio document and also make that available to your students. Even though right now the alternative format is there, but this, odds are Ally is going to be going away in December. So it may be something that you want to grab, you know, if that's your choosing. And that makes it, you know, if somebody happens to be on the road and, you know, they're commuting, you know, they can listen to your content while they're driving. You know, it provides an option. So. But
so Stan, I have a question on that then. So the alternate content is stuff that we have to create?
No, that's automatically.
That's automatically done.
Yeah, but like I said, in December it'll go away. But this content, you know, making this available, so like an EPUB document is available, or in this case, and I can make it a tagged PDF document or an HTML document. And so right now that is this alternate format, you know, and so there's that Word document turned into an HTML document.
Okay, and then you're saying that you would take and save that and then make that available as additional content.
You could, yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So like in this case, I could create an audio version of that.
Right.
And then I can upload it. Now, I'm not necessarily keen on the voice, but I don't have a choice for that. You know, it's that robotic voice, which is sometimes it's doable, but that's certainly possible.
Okay, so I mean that's I mean you've got like 6 or 7 choices there, you know, and we have a limited time frame to get this done. Are you suggesting we do that, or is this like additional fun stuff if you have time to do that?
Well, you know, like that PDF document, for example, and I'll show you one quick way of, you know, dealing with PDFs, but and it's none of this is perfect. But you know, sometimes it can be used in a pinch. So here's this HTML document for that PDF.
Right.
Right. So basically it pulled out the information that I need,
Yeah.
and I can, format it more it could be formatted more useful, and make it available to the students along with that PDF document. You may say, hey, if you have problems with the PDF, here, this is also available to you. It's the same content.
Well, yeah, but going through and trying to fix that HTML is no picnic. I mean, if you go down through there was a table I saw down in that, and I mean, tables are just a challenge in HTML anyways. I mean, I teach that and students are, baffled by them. So
yeah,
if you have no idea how to fix a table, you're going to be out of luck in the HTML.
sure. But this is now it's HTML. You're right. Now it's HTML. I have options now,
That's true. You didn't have any
PDF,
options
I
with
couldn't.
PDF.
So now
Yeah.
I have possibilities with it. But as you
Okay.
can see, this is broken up, and there's issues with that too. So
Okay.
like I said, we're just trying to get closer to the green, just to make it as useful as possible. Okay, so that's also available to your students. They can download those things. You may, in this case, I didn't notice it right away that my browser was blocking the download of content. So you may have to provide instructions to your students on how to make sure you check. If they don't get a download, it may be that their browser is stopping them, and how to allow that to continue through. So, all right, let me show you this last report. This is not a report you guys have access to. This is my report. This shows you pretty much for the whole campus. And, so this is from the beginning of time, 2014 2014 to fall 2020, where we sit, and we're kind of here, and we keep improving. So overall, 78% for summer. For fall, we're at 78.8. The WYSIWYG is what we're actually creating in Blackboard. We're doing really well there. It's all these files that we're bringing in, PowerPoints and PDFs and Word documents that is pulling us down. When we're creating content in Blackboard, we're doing a really great job. It's this other stuff that's pulling us down. What I can do is, so this is the overall score, 72.1 overall in everything we've done. Documentations without descriptions, things like that. Oh, and that was for that particular term. So let me go to summer 2020, and we're at 78%. We have 1,000 images that don't have descriptions, right? This is seriously low-hanging fruit. Just add a description to the image, we're done. Contrast issues, 851. People are making their documents look, they're making them look pretty, but then they stop being practical, and there's a trade-off in how to do it. Documents 668 are missing titles, things like that.
Just a comment real quick again.
Sure.
So it was interesting because while you were doing it, I ran the checker and I checked on some of the PowerPoints that are provided by the book manufacturer, Pearson or whoever it is. And I just put those up there in case students ever want to look at them. I don't know if they ever do or not, but those things had a ton of stuff wrong with them. So I'm wondering if it's even worth fixing them and just not providing them. It's kind of a regurgitation of the book.
Yeah,
something I'll have to decide.
So the thing is, that philosophical discussion is, if as you're preparing, this is a great opportunity, as you're preparing for the fall term, to get your stuff in order for the fall term. Will it take time? Absolutely. If you're in the fall term and you're just looking, you know, what's available next week. Hey, let me clean that up. You know, you're going to end up spending all that time in the end, but you're just kind of breaking it up and you're doing it kind of in little pieces. That is, you know, that's a way to approach it, you know, instead of a whole block of time at one time. You know, or you can batch it, right? It's like, all right, let me sit down with all these PowerPoints and just fix them, you know, and get those things fixed. Lots of different ways to approach this. But what I do know is when you are working with this, you are going to pick up a lot of knowledge about accessibility. And when you start building your own documents, you're going to like, oh, let me make sure I get my headers there. Let me make sure I put an image description there. I am now, it's part of my habit that I put those descriptions in there automatically, simply because I don't want to go retrofit later. And it's just something I've come to do. So,
speaking of philosophical debates, PowerPoints versus Google Slides. I understand, I may be wrong, that just uploading the PowerPoint into Google Slides may make it more accessible?
that I don't know. I don't know, you know.
So, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. But this kind of gives you an idea of, you know, we've got some that, you know, document a scan and OCR, you know, that is malformed. We have some documents that are scanned. Oh yeah, you guys can't see that. I suppose I should share, right? Talking about not accessible, right? Document is malformed. You know, what exactly that means, you know, I'd have to go look at it. But for a while, well, actually until recently, until this past year, when you scan something on the campus scanners, on the copiers, when they created PDFs, they were not good PDFs, right? They were basically images that somebody who had a visual impairment could not read. And so totally broken. They have since fixed that issue. So now when they scan these documents, they're scanned as OCR, optical character reading. And so you can see those particular documents, or a screen reader could read those documents. So, but this kind of gives you an idea of, you know, where we are, you know, as far as, you know, different academic years. I also can get a report, a usage report, which kind of clues me in on, you know, the number of folks that are going in and actually using these tools to fix their documents, how many things are being cleaned up and things like that. So that's what I have behind the scenes. So that is Ally. Where's my chat? So, all right, Morgan, see ya. Jacob, as far as scanning with your phone, I would have, you know, basically send me a PDF document that you've scanned with your phone and I'll tell you. Right? So, you know, I'll tell you right away if it is or not. You know, the big thing is if you can go ahead and highlight text on your PDF document, something like that, nice and easy, then you're in good shape. If you cannot, then no. So that would hold it back.
Hey,
What other
Stan,
questions?
yeah, Stan, this is Jeff. One more time, and I'll promise to shut up. So I really like this. I'm glad I came to this because this Ally is pretty nice. I thought I had, so one of the classes I teach is the HTML class, and I went through and I finished it a couple weeks ago and got all the content that I thought was all, you know, needed to be fixed, and I fixed it all and life was good. And then I run this stupid report on it, and it says I have about 30 more items to fix. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, now I got to spend another 2 hours on this. But that's really good, though, because it was just stuff that I hadn't thought of. You know, it was really the documents that I created that I went through and had fixed and stuff, but I didn't realize there was additional content in there that needed to be looked at. So anybody that's trying to do this stuff should have taken this little course, and you should try and push it a little bit more.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just trying to make the place better. So
Yeah, and what's kind of the time frame? I get a sense that the administration is kind of pushing us to get this done. I don't know if that's the case or not. That's just a sense that I have, because you're kind of like focusing on it, and there've been a couple other places where it's been focused on. Is there some time frame where they're trying to get this done?
all right, so in terms of accessibility, this is something, you know, I've certainly been stressing for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Because it's just the right thing to do. Plus, it's the law. That we are opening ourselves up to litigation, you know, if our content's not accessible. And, you know, instructors can be named in that litigation, you know, especially if they don't take it to heart. So that is, but really it's just the right thing to do. Because if you create all this content, right, you put all these PDF documents up, but you have somebody who's visually impaired and cannot access a single one, you've pretty much stopped them in their tracks, right? And you wonder why they're not passing your class is because they can't read a single document. But there's ways that we can do this right. And it, you know, it just comes back to, you know, taking care of our students. Also, this has, you know, been a big push from SUNY that we had this electronic information technology group that I was sitting on. And what it does is it focuses on accessibility. And part of that was, let's get Ally installed, even though it's a pilot, we're not going to pay for it, as for increased awareness of, you know, a lot of folks are like, no, my stuff's good. No, your stuff's not good. You know?
Yeah, that's what I found out. Yeah.
Right. And it's not, you know, part of it is that no one really explained, why do you use headings? Why do you use lists? Why, you know, why don't you use tables to layout? You know, all those things. What is alternate text for an image? Just all those things. And so at the end of the day, we will learn how to create these things correctly, and that'll help us going forward. That you will have, you know, your toolbox will be expanded because, oh, I know how to do this now correctly. I will now do it correctly, you know, ideally.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's just, that's kind of what it is. And right now, because of this COVID, we're doing a lot of stuff online. And we want to create the best experience possible for our students. Because a lot of students, they didn't sign up for online initially. And, you know, now it's like, oh, this stuff, I can't read it. It's, you know, it doesn't work. We could do better. And so that's why, what's going on right now. So.
Okay, good. Appreciate it. Thanks, Dan.
Sure. So John Keating asks, Ally is done in December. Will we have to start over with our files in the spring? No, this is an opportunity to clean up the files. And that way, when you roll your course over for the spring or, you know, for the next fall or whatever it is, all that cleaned up stuff is going to be rolled over. So it's going to be good to go. So that's a good thing. All right, and Rose, I will put the link on, and I'm going to put some other resources, but I'll put the link on the TEI page that I'm doing this, and let me get it for you so I could throw it in the chat. So once this is, so a couple things will happen. Once this is done recording, I will get it up on YouTube, and then I will update the link on this particular page. So if you want to go to it again, and in this, I will add a couple of resources that will point you in the right direction and all that. So, yeah. And yeah, past recordings, they're transcribed or they got a closed caption. So feel free to check them out. So if you missed any of the other sessions. What else you got, folks? Anything else? Well, if nothing else, well, I saw a comment. Oh, just that was informative. Thank you. I will try not to mess up the link next week. So I'll try. I learned to keep my hands off those things. Like, yeah, trying to make it easier and it broke things. So, all right. Well, with that, I'm going to wish you a wonderful afternoon, and let me get this up on YouTube. So, okay, if you got questions, you know where I'm at. Come join me on Zoom. So, all right, have a wonderful day, folks. See ya.